This task force was approved by the legislature in April of 2013. This was the first organized and legislatively approved education committee since 2007 when they looked at funding. I submitted an application to represent the business community because education has become the Anchorage Chamber's top priority, and the business community wants a strong education and good workforce development. Over the last 19 months, we've had 7 meetings. That's it. And every meeting has been just like this. It's been last minute. We just got the agenda 10 days ago. Over the last 5 days, which is a holiday week, we've had dozens of documents dumped on us without any time to read them. Most of the recommendations that we came up with last year on December 31st, a day before the report was due to the legislature, were created really without any committee work. You look at 9 of the 12 items on the agenda today, very few, if any of these, we actually did heavy lifting in committee. We just simply heard testimony. This committee really had no input. We did really no heavy lifting. We didn't identify most of the stuff that the resolution called for. And finally, Madam Chairs, while I appreciate your work, I have to say that since August of 2013, when we had our first meeting, I have been complaining about how poorly organized this has been. Last-minute agendas, last-minute information, no follow-through, and not enough meetings to really do the work. I'm incredibly disappointed. I think the business community expected more. And to touch on what has been said, yes, the state is certainly facing fiscal situations. Understand that. And in that vein, this committee or this task force was, I believe, appropriated over $200,000 for our work. And we would like all of the committee members to receive an itemized list of every expense that this committee occurred. Because with the exception of a trip to Kotzebue and a trip to Kenai that some of us didn't take, I can't see where this committee spent any money for the committee members to actually do the work and suggest improvements on public school outcomes. So thank you very much, and I really wish everybody a happy, happy New Year.
Thank you, Andrew. Andy, are you online?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Do you have any final and additional comments?
I do. I guess we've done lots of stuff here, but one thing that sticks out and we've gone over lots of important things, but one thing that sticks out in my mind is as we're discussing busing and, a lot more time will go into that and money and how to save money. But what comes back to me is we have so many students at the first grade around the state that are starting out the first grade, and they're several years behind. And we've also figured out we can't even test how to test that. But that with the low oil prices now, we're going to be having less money. But I would hate for us to get so worried about the money and divert our attention that we're going to divert really the core in getting these kids the help they need from the start to get them up to speed so that they're not costing more money later. That's all, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being able to call in on your holiday, and thank you very much, Andy. Representative Millett.
Well, first off, thanks for all your hard work for the co-chairs, and to the public members that took time out of their day for all the meetings that we've had and the phone calls and the email exchanges we've had. I really appreciate you willing to serve on a committee like this. However, I differ a little bit with Representative Wilson's take on continuing a task force. I think that both the House and the Senate have an education committee, and I think my recommendation would be for that education committee to meet year-round. I think that we've dedicated a standing committee to education both on the House and the Senate side, much like we did on our special committee of energy. We met year-round, and through our committee work, we did get a stakeholder group together and worked with them, which was really no cost to the state, and had public members, much like we have here on the on this task force. So I would recommend rather than putting together another task force, is to just recommend that the Education Committee, especially on the House, meet year-round and maybe do form a stakeholder group on individual subjects, whether it's teacher tenure, whether it's teacher retention, whether it's parent involvement, whatever subcommittees we can have that we've pinpointed in this committee that seems to be issues that we deal with, engage all the stakeholders, including the teachers, principals, school boards, and PTA meetings. I think the other thing that I would ask is to get some students involved on some type of level to talk to them about where the deficiencies in education lie with the students. One thing that we haven't really done is talk to students about what they see as their educational futures and their educational goals. I think those are really important perspectives that we may have not spent time talking to those user groups of our education on both inputs and outcomes, as Andrew Halcrow was talking about. I think those are important things. I think that, there's education is, we could have a meeting every day and never delve into the many aspects that drive our education dollars. And so I appreciate the time. I've learned an awful lot on this committee. This is the second one I've served on. And I'll continue to, even though I'm not on the Education Committee, I'll continue to follow that. I think it's important, as it's constitutionally mandated, and we should really pay attention to what's happening in education and what's happening with the future of our children. So I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Neese.
Sorry. Take a break between coughing. I like basically everything we put in here last year. I think even though it was a last-minute thing, I think I was sitting at IHOP eating breakfast. Food's important. The one thing that I kind of felt like we had not completely resolved, we had talked about Ketchikan's lawsuit and its possible impacts on the state. I don't think there's any local communities that are not going to contribute to their school district. I don't think that's as big an issue as people are making it out to be. And I think the federal funds probably should go to those districts instead of filtering through deed. That's just a personal thing. The other thing that you have out there that would be well for any future committee to look at would be the fact that as the native sovereignty issue works its way through the courts, the Bureau of Indian Education does do charter schools with villages. So if you have a village, let's pick one up in the upper Northwest or Central Alaska, and they don't want to be part of the state education system, and they don't want to be part of the federal education system, they can charter their school out. That's an option that probably, it really goes down to local control within the tribal units so that they can keep their culture alive. It's been fairly successful in Arizona. It's not because of our unique status with our natives. Alaska Federation of Natives has asked, why aren't we getting that money? Why aren't we getting the money for local police? Well, you don't have a definition of your tribe. And so as that gets resolved, if the state is unable to provide a free public education, or these people want to opt out of the state's free public education system, I think that's something that you may want to consider, because we're neither fish nor fowl right now, with half of us burrowed and half of us not. And it's been a problem for 50 years. Probably isn't going to go away real quick. And the other thing is, we didn't eliminate any unnecessary regulations. And I don't think we even asked the State Department of Education to look at any unnecessary regulations. But there is one that I know of personally. If I'm teaching in Anchorage and I want to go teach at Matsu because the houses are cheaper, I have to get the Anchorage School District to release me from contract to go out there to work. And if I am a teacher of specialty, they may say no. So as a professional teacher, I find that to be a problem. You have to be released by your home district you've signed your contract with in order to take a job with another district in the state of Alaska. I think that's an unnecessary regulation.
just for matter of clarification, if you signed a contract with somebody, if you want to sign a contract with somebody else, of course you've got to get it released. Or what am I missing?
I don't think it's a state regulation. I think it's an anchorage contract.
Contractual.